Hello everyone! Of course, international trade is highly beneficial to all because it allows countries to specialize in the production of goods where they have comparative advantage, to access from other countries the goods they cannot produce efficiently, and to enjoy a wider range of products. However, while both imports and exports are part of trade, exports, particularly of manufactured goods, are far more crucial for sustained economic development. The reason is simple. Exports generate foreign exchange, create jobs, drive industrialization, and stimulate productivity growth, all of which are key pillars of national economic transformation. In contrast, imports, though beneficial for technology transfer and consumer welfare, do not produce structural economic growth. First, manufactured exports drive industrialization. The transition from low-income to high-income status requires moving from subsistence agriculture and mineral extraction to large-scale manufacturing and high-value services. Manufactured exports are a powerful vehicle for this shift because they create large-scale employment in industries like food processing, electronics, textiles, automobiles, etc. They promote technology acquisition and skill development, as manufacturers must meet international standards in order to sell in foreign markets. Let's take South Korea, for example. In 1962, South Korea's exports were just $54 million, mainly in primary commodities. By aggressively promoting manufactured exports, starting with textiles, then moving into cars, electronics, steel, and ships, exports surged to nearly $700 billion in 2024, which is over 40% of South Korea's GDP. This export-led industrialization transformed South Korea from a war-torn country with GDP per capita under $100 in the 1960s to over $36,000 in 2024. Second, manufactured exports generate foreign exchange earnings, which in turn power economic development. Importation, especially of machinery and raw materials, are essential for industrialization. However, they require foreign exchange. Without strong exports to generate sufficient foreign earnings, countries face chronic trade deficits, which can deplete foreign reserves and lead to currency crises. Let's take Taiwan as another example. In the 1960s, Taiwan shifted from agricultural exports like sugar and rice to manufactured exports such as electronics, machinery, and semiconductors. By 2024, Taiwan's exports totaled $475 billion, with semiconductors alone contributing over $180 billion. This export income funded infrastructure, education, research, and a prosperous high-tech economy, with GDP per capita rising above $40,000. Third, manufactured exports are less volatile than commodities. Primary commodities such as crops, crude oil, and solid minerals have highly volatile international prices, making economies dependent on them to be very vulnerable to economic boom and bust cycles. However, manufactured goods have more stable and often rising value due to innovation and brand development. Let's look at Malaysia's journey in this regard. Back in the 1970s, Malaysia was heavily reliant on rubber and palm oil. These commodities, while valuable, had volatile prices that often disrupted the country's growth plans. However, in the 1980s and 90s, Malaysia made a strategic shift into electronics assembly and manufacturing. Fast forward to 2024. Manufactured exports, primarily electronics and electrical products, accounted for 85% of Malaysia's total export earnings of $330 billion. This diversification has cushioned the Malaysian economy from the shocks of fluctuating commodity prices. Fourth, manufactured exports boost productivity and innovation. To compete on the global stage, exporters must continually improve product quality, reduce production costs, and adopt new technologies. This kind of competitive pressure transcends the export sector and spreads throughout the entire economy, thus raising the productivity levels across multiple sectors. Now, let's highlight China as a great example for manufactured export boom. After joining the World Trade Organization in 2001, China's export surge was driven by the manufacturing of textiles, electronics, vehicles, and machinery. China's manufactured exports soared from $260 billion in 2001 to over $3.3 trillion in 2024. This enormous scale enabled massive reinvestment in research and development, which currently stands at around 2.5% of China's GDP. This investment has propelled China to global leadership in sectors like solar panels, electric vehicles, electronics, automotive, and telecommunications. 5. Exports reach markets beyond domestic limits. Domestic markets in developing countries are typically too small to absorb the production output from the kind of large-scale manufacturing that's needed to be a considerable player in competitive industries. However, the possibility of exporting manufactured goods to overseas markets opens up access to billions of consumers all around the world, allowing companies to reach world-class scale. Take Vietnam, for example. With a domestic market of under 100 million people, its electronics and apparel industries are thriving globally by focusing on exports. In 2024, exports hit $405 billion, over 90% of which are manufactured goods. This has made Vietnam the world's second-largest smartphone exporter, right after China. 6. Manufactured exports support employment and inclusive growth. Manufacturing for export tends to be labor-intensive, especially in the early stages, thus creating millions of jobs. This, in turn, stimulates domestic demand and helps to reduce poverty. Bangladesh is a good example in this regard. Bangladesh's garment industry is the world's second-largest apparel exporter. It employs over 4 million people, with the majority being women. This sector accounts for approximately 80% of the country's $48 billion in exports as of 2024. This industry has played a vital role in reducing poverty, down from 44% in 1991 to below 19% in 2023. 7. Manufactured exports create ripple effects by initiating a chain reaction throughout the economy. Manufactured exports do more than just bring in revenue. They give rise to upstream and downstream industries. Business segments providing local raw materials, inbound and outbound logistics, packaging, engineering services, etc. are all positively impacted, thus spreading the economic benefits far and wide. Let's now turn our attention to Singapore. The country's exports in electronics, petrochemicals, and precision engineering are the economic engine. They drive demand for financial services, shipping, and research and development. In 2024, Singapore's exports reached an impressive $630 billion, which is over 140% of its GDP. In conclusion, international trade is broadly beneficial, but manufactured exports are really the engine that powers sustained economic development. They provide foreign exchange, drive industrialization, stabilize economies, create jobs, boost productivity, and expand markets. The experience of South Korea, Taiwan, China, Malaysia, and Vietnam proves that a strong base of manufactured exports is essential for rapid, sustained economic development. For developing nations, especially in Africa, replicating this export-led industrialization model is crucial for economic development and prosperity. Thanks for watching.